It was a quiet evening when I heard a knock on the door, heavier than usual, as if it carried the weight of something unsaid. My son stood there, eyes restless, shoulders tense, his lips pressed tightly together as though words were fighting to escape. He rarely came to me for personal matters, almost never with his emotions laid bare. He had always been the kind of man to carry his burdens silently, but tonight was different. Without asking, he stepped inside, sat down, and lowered his gaze to the floor. I could sense that whatever he had brought with him was about to change more than just the course of the evening. I poured him a glass of water, and for a long moment neither of us spoke. His hands trembled slightly as he wrapped them around the glass, and I realized he was wrestling with something far bigger than a casual problem. Finally, he exhaled deeply, as though releasing a storm he had held in for too long, and said, "I need your advice." His tone was heavy, almost desperate, and I felt my chest tighten. This was not the voice of a man asking about career choices or daily struggles. This was the voice of a man on the edge of a discovery that could alter his entire life. I waited patiently, not wanting to push him. He rubbed his face with both hands, searching for courage, and then whispered words that shook me. "I think my wife is hiding something from me." For a second, I wasn't sure I had heard him correctly. The son I had raised, strong and confident, now sat before me uncertain, wounded, afraid. My mind raced with questions: what had he seen, what made him believe this, but I held them back, sensing that he needed to unravel this story at his own pace. He continued, his voice unsteady. "She's different lately. Her phone is always with her. She leaves the room when she answers calls. Even the way she looks at me feels distant." He paused, swallowing hard, and I could see the fear of betrayal clouding his eyes. I wanted to reassure him, to dismiss it as paranoia, but the conviction in his voice wouldn't allow me to. I knew he wasn't exaggerating. Something in his marriage had shifted, and he was desperate to understand it. I tried to keep my own expression calm, though inside I felt the sting of recognition. I knew too well the signs he was describing. My heart ached for him, but I also felt the heaviness of my own past echoing in his words. He leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "I saw something yesterday, and I don't know if I should confront her. I'm terrified of the answer, but I can't keep living like this either." His eyes locked with mine, searching for guidance, pleading for a wisdom I wasn't sure I had the strength to give. In that moment, I realized the night had only just begun, and whatever I said next would either mend or break something far greater than I could yet see. The silence stretched between us, heavy, almost suffocating, as if the air itself demanded that I choose my words carefully. I looked at him, trying to find the right place to begin, but he didn't give me time. He leaned forward, his voice raw and trembling. "I don't want to believe it, but I can't unsee what I saw. Last night, she told me she had to work late. I believed her, like I always do. But something inside me told me to drive past her office. I don't even know why I did it. I just felt this gnawing suspicion I couldn't explain." His hands clenched tightly as he spoke, knuckles white, veins bulging, every word pulled straight from a wound that hadn't yet closed. He went on, each detail falling from his lips like stones sinking into water. The lights in her office were off. The building was nearly empty, but her car was still in the lot. I thought maybe she had stepped out for a moment. I waited. I told myself not to think the worst, but then I saw her. She walked out of the building, and she wasn't alone. There was a man with her, and they were laughing. She touched his arm in a way that didn't feel innocent, and when they got into the same car together, I just froze. His voice cracked at the memory. The room seemed to shrink around us. I could feel his pain pressing against me, his need for answers pressing harder still. I wanted to reach out and tell him not to jump to conclusions, that laughter and proximity don't always mean betrayal, but I couldn't deny the sharp edge of doubt cutting through his words. He had seen something that planted a seed, and that seed had already begun to grow. He covered his face, shaking his head. "I don't know what to do. Do I confront her? Do I follow her again? What if I'm wrong? What if I'm right? I can't even sleep anymore. I look at her in the morning, and I feel like I don't know her. It's like living with a stranger, and it's killing me." His desperation was like a wound laid open on the table between us. I listened, my chest heavy. Memories from years ago flashed uninvited into my mind, my own mistakes, the cracks I had once put in the foundation of trust. His pain mirrored what I had caused in someone else, and it twisted like a knife inside me. I had come to terms with my past, but I had never spoken of it to him. Now, sitting here, I wondered if my silence had prepared him poorly for the truth of life, for the possibility of betrayal. He lifted his eyes to me, voice shaking. I need you to tell me what to do. Should I stay silent and live with this, or should I demand the truth and risk losing everything? His stare was desperate, clinging to me as if I alone held the map out of his torment. I swallowed hard, the weight of my own history pressing against my throat. I wanted to give him a clear answer, something that would ease his heart, but life had taught me that there are no easy paths when trust is broken. Finally, I drew a breath and said quietly, "Before I can tell you what you should do, there's something you need to hear from me first." His brows furrowed, confusion clouding his face. He leaned back, waiting, not knowing that the truth I was about to share would change the way he saw me forever. I stared at him, my heart pounding with the weight of a truth I had buried for years. His eyes searched mine, desperate for an answer, and I knew I couldn't guide him without first revealing the shadow of my own past. My voice was low, almost trembling, as I said, "You're not the first in this family to face what you're feeling. Long before you suspected your wife, I made a mistake that nearly destroyed everything I loved." He blinked, stunned, his mouth parting slightly as though he hadn't heard me correctly. I forced myself to continue, every word dragging guilt back to the surface. "When you were younger, I betrayed your mother's trust. It wasn't something I planned, it wasn't something I'm proud of, but it happened. I thought I could hide it, I thought no one would know. But the truth is, nothing hidden stays buried forever. When it came out, it broke her heart, and it shattered the foundation of our family." My throat tightened, but I pressed on. I saw in her eyes the same pain I now see in yours. The questions, the doubts, the sleepless nights. And let me tell you, there's no wound deeper than feeling the person you love most might not be truly yours. It changes the way you look at yourself. It makes you question your worth, your judgment, even your sanity. I paused, letting the confession sink in, while my son sat frozen, disbelief etched across his face. He finally whispered, "You? You did that?" His voice was filled with shock and a hint of anger. I nodded, shame burning in my chest. "Yes. And I live with the consequences every day. Your mother forgave me, but she never forgot. Even now, years later, there are moments when I see the doubt in her eyes. Infidelity doesn't end when the affair ends, it lingers, it scars, it steals pieces of trust that can never fully return." He rubbed his hands over his face, struggling to absorb what I had just revealed. Silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. Then, almost accusingly, he said, "So you're telling me she might be doing the same thing to me?" I shook my head firmly. "No. I'm telling you that suspicion alone can destroy you as much as betrayal can. If you confront her without proof, you risk breaking something that might not even be broken. But if you stay silent, you let the poison of doubt eat you from the inside." He lowered his gaze, torn between anger and sorrow. I could see the storm in him, the desire for truth battling with the fear of devastation. I leaned closer, my voice steady though my heart trembled. "You must choose carefully. Evidence gives you power. Assumptions strip it away. Do not repeat my mistake of living in shadows and lies. Face this with courage, but face it with clarity." He looked back at me, his eyes moist, his lips trembling as though words failed him. I reached out and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Whatever truth you uncover, know this: love without trust is fragile, and once broken, it never returns the same. That is what I've learned, and that is what I need you to understand." Before he could reply, the sound of footsteps echoed outside the door. A sudden knock broke the tension, sharp and unexpected, and we both turned, our hearts pounding. Something was about to happen, something neither of us had anticipated. The knock at the door cut through the air like a blade. My son froze, his eyes darting toward the sound, as though he already knew who it was. I stood slowly, my pulse hammering, and when I opened the door, there she was, his wife. She looked pale, nervous, clutching her bag tightly against her chest. Her eyes flicked from me to him, and in that moment, the silence in the room felt unbearable. She stepped inside without waiting to be asked, her voice breaking as she said, "There's something I need to tell you." My son stiffened, his jaw tightening, bracing himself for the words he had been dreading. His fists clenched at his sides, and I could almost hear his heartbeat pounding in the stillness. She took a shaky breath, tears already welling in her eyes. "I know you've noticed me acting strange. I know I've been distant. But it's not what you think." She glanced at me for a moment, as though asking if she should continue, then looked back at him. "I've been meeting someone. A man. But it's not an affair." The words hit the room like thunder, and for a split second, even I felt the ground beneath me shift. My son's face went pale, his breath shallow. She rushed forward before he could explode, her voice trembling. "It's a lawyer. I've been planning something behind your back, but it was meant to be a surprise. I've been working to set up a trust fund in your name, in our child's name. I didn't want to tell you until it was finalized. I thought it would be something beautiful, but I see now that my secrecy has hurt you." My son's lips parted, but no words came out. The anger, the suspicion, the sleepless nights, all of it collided with the sudden relief of knowing she hadn't betrayed him. His body shook as he lowered himself into a chair, covering his face with both hands. She fell to her knees in front of him, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I never wanted to make you doubt me. I thought I was protecting the surprise, but instead I've been tearing us apart without even realizing it." I watched as the walls he had built around his heart began to crumble. Slowly, he lowered his hands, staring at her with a mixture of pain and love. "Do you know what I thought? Do you know what it's been doing to me?" His voice cracked, raw with emotion. She shook her head, sobbing. "I see it now. And I hate myself for keeping this from you." He reached for her hands, gripping them tightly, as though afraid she might disappear if he let go. The tears he had held back finally fell, and for the first time that evening, his voice softened. "I almost lost faith in you. I almost destroyed us with my doubts." She clung to him, whispering, "I'll spend the rest of my life proving to you that you can trust me." I stood quietly, my heart heavy with the reminder of my own past. Watching them, I realized something I should have understood long ago: trust is fragile, and silence can be as dangerous as betrayal. But honesty, even when it comes late, can still save love from collapsing completely. That night, as they held each other through tears, I thought of the scars my choices had left behind, and the lessons carved from pain. My son had nearly fallen into the same abyss I once had, but fate had given him a chance to climb back. I knew then that the greatest gift I could give him wasn't advice, but truth, my truth, and the reminder that trust must be guarded more carefully than anything else. When my son came for advice, I never imagined that both our pasts and futures would collide in such a way. Yet, in the end, we all walked away with the same understanding: love cannot survive without trust, and trust cannot survive without honesty. And sometimes, the secrets we keep, even with good intentions, can do more damage than the betrayals we fear.